Hi, everybody. How are you?
Oh,
Hi,
good.
Hello.
doing well.
I think I know what we're going to do, so I'll get us started. Real quick, my name is John Dignan. I'm the new superintendent of Wayne Westland Community Schools. Just to kind of give you a little of my background. I grew up in Ypsilanti, not too far from here. Graduated from Michigan State. I've been an educator for the last 20 plus years. I've been in the capacity of middle school teacher, high school teacher, assistant principal, high school principal, and central office staff. I come from a family of educators. Both my mom and dad were both educators. My sister's a special education teacher and have a lot of cousins in the profession. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all of you. The last couple months has been so difficult on so many people, and the anxiety and angst from everything. It's been difficult, but I'll tell you one thing: it's illuminated how important teachers are, and you know, I look and I think families understand, and just having conversations with people that how important our teachers really are. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for what you do. You're priceless. And I'm going to start getting in kind of the presentation and kind of giving an overview of where we're at. And then if people have questions at the end, to the best of my ability, I'll try to answer your questions. If I can't, I'll tell you, it's something we're working on and we can kind of go from there. Okay. I'm going to have Jenny play the PowerPoint and then we'll kind of work through that. So real quick, and I'll just talk about this. June 30th, the governor came out with the Michigan Safe School reopening of schools plan. So before that, there was a lot of legwork that was being done by a lot of educators within the district. They were building baselines in different scenarios. When the state came with the kind of the executive order of how we were going to reopen schools, they used that model and really started to strengthen the baselines with the idea, once we had baselines and we kind of vetted some of the committees that we're going to need, we wanted to have all of our stakeholders participate in that. Now, the Wayne County Community Health Department, they have a lot to say in what we do. The CDC, of course, does. And again, the state of Michigan executive orders kind of dictates what phase we're in. Right now, we're in phase 4 in Wayne County. Again, could that change in the next couple of weeks? Of course it could. I have the Michigan High School Athletic Association. It doesn't impact necessarily middle schools. They came out with their announcements last week that they're going to move forward with fall sports. There's talk that they're going to make that final statement July 29th. So again, we'll see where we're at with that. If you don't mind, Jenny, clicking it to the next slide. This is the return to learn plan. And again, this is just kind of a skeleton or a framework that we are going to follow. First, I want to thank Jenny Johnson and the communications department for putting together this infographic that we are going to send out to the community after the community forum tonight. So what it is it kind of constitutes a street light with the different phases. So I'm going to start with virtual instruction. If we're phase 1 through 3, of course, we're going to have to deliver teaching and learning remotely. This will be done by our teachers through Google Meet classrooms, and I'll kind of get into more detail as we break these out. Plan 2 is the hybrid instruction, where it's kids are coming in school part of the week, and then they are going to access their learning remotely. And phase 4 probably has the strictest safety measures of any of the different phases outside of 1 and 3. Phase 5 and 6, we're still gonna respond to the safety measures that are in place, but again, that's more of a full traditional school model. So as we go to the next slide, it kind of breaks it out. So if we're in phase 5 or 6, students attend school on campus. Again, we can reopen at full capacity. We are going to have to follow certain safety measures again, but they aren't as strict as they would be in phase 4. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Phase 2 is the hybrid instruction. And again, what the team has done, and I want to credit Ms. Jen Curry and the curriculum instruction assessment team, they've been able to kind of marry kind of a schedule with a hybrid model that fits teaching and learning too if we had to go remotely. And I'll kind of explain that. So the first part is we would have students, and I'm going to call them student A, and they would report Monday and Tuesday. We'd have another group of students, student B, that would report Thursday and Friday, and Wednesday would be no students for a deep cleaning. Now, with that being said, the model, we've talked about breaking it in alphabet. So group A could be A through K. Group B, which meets Thursday and Friday, could be L through Z. Now, with that being said, we've almost used a block concept in the construction of that model just to cut down on transition times. So student A, and I'm just going to focus on them right now. So they would come to school Monday and Tuesday, full day. Everyone, all the students are off on Wednesday for a deep cleaning. Then Thursday and Friday, they would be online and they would access their education remotely, again, through our teachers' instruction. We would have telehealth, all the social emotional support available to them. We would probably have office hours for our teachers on that Wednesday. Again, these are some of the details and logistics might look different building to building because every building has its unique DNA. I just kind of gave you an overview and kind of the baseline we're working off of. Through some of the committee work, we are going to kind of take each committee through each model. So phase 5 and 6, I'm calling that full traditional. Phase 4 would be hybrid instruction, part remote, part in person. And then virtual would be taught by our teachers. But again, it would be in phases 1 through 3, if we can go to the next model. So phase 3 is virtual instruction. Now, I want to clear something up because I kind of got confused. This is on my second week on the job, so please forgive me. But the Wayne Westland online learning is separate from the different phases. So if families decided that they wanted to sign up for the Wayne Westland online learning, which used to be known as Great Futures, they can sign up for that. Again, that's delivered through a third-party vendor, Ingenuity, with our teachers serving as mentors. And typically in that model, for every 120 kids, we would assign a teacher mentor from Wayne Westland Community Schools, just kind of overlook, do wellness checks, things of that nature. Now, with that being said, in phases 1 through 3, if the governor came out, let's say, and in this hypothetical, a couple weeks from now and said we're in phase 3, we would enter the school year with remote instruction, kind of like we did in the winter. But the only difference is the curriculum and instruction assessment team has built a model. So I talked about like group A, they're going to meet Monday and Tuesday and then Thursday and Friday. They've set kind of a virtual model that we would meet with or we would meet with students on like Tuesday and Thursday of that week, virtually with we probably shorten the class periods, 20, 30 minutes. We'd have interactive lessons. Again, we're going to flush out. Are we stuck on one plan? No. But we're going to have to build all 3 plans because we just don't know what we're going to encounter during the school year. And I think the more that we can front load our plans, the better they'll be. Now, with that being said, we have aggressive timeline. So July 30th, we have to submit something so the board can look at it. August 3rd, we're having a board study session, so we can kind of vet out any of their questions. August 10th, it goes to the school board to vote on. Every school board in the state of Michigan has to have a board meeting and board approval before August 15th. August 17th, every plan across the state has to be turned in to their local ISD. For us, that's Wayne Risa. But again, we're going to plan with our committees to fine tune what our plans look like, even after it's kind of gone through that process. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a web page that's dedicated to our return to learn plan that will kind of break up into the different departments so families, staff, everyone can get on there. We're going to have the latest information on there. As we get FAQs today and this evening, we're going to go through and start answering those and posting it online. As we get new ones, we will put in a different color font to symbolize here's some new questions and address those. We're going to keep this open-ended because, again, we need to have perception data from everybody involved in this. We're all in this together. So we want to hear from our teachers. We want to hear from our students, our families, everybody, because this perception data is really going to help us better make decisions for our school community. If you'd flip it to the next one, Jenny. Okay, so we have these reopening committees, transportation, food service, technology, curriculum instruction, special education, operations, communications, childcare, and social emotional learning. Now, through some of these larger committees, we're going to have subcommittees that are born out of them. For instance, and again, I'm just using this as a hypothetical, in operations, you might have a hallway committee that focuses on traffic in the hallway, on arrival and dismissal times, because again, that's when we're going to have the most children. So again, some of these larger committees will have subcommittees that will focus on certain areas, because again, we're on an aggressive timeline, but we want to figure these things out. If we can establish these committees, it's ongoing even when we start in the school year. And we plan to survey staff, students, and our school community once a week. And it's not going to be overwhelming surveys. We're talking 4 to 6 questions where we can get quick snapshots. And we plan to run this even once, regardless of the plan that we decide to use when school starts, just to stay informed within the community. Again, here's the timeline. So again, we're having a town meeting this evening with our community at 6 p.m. The board study session is August 3rd. Then we have the board vote on the plan on August 10th. After that, what I wanted to do was a roundtable virtual town hall meeting, but with the heads of each department represented. So I would give a presentation of here's where we're at with the different plans. Here are the plans that we are moving forward with. And then when people have specific questions, we can have a Q&A session with different departments. And again, that's really, we're going to break it out into, we might have to break the elementary in 2 groups, but then middle school and high school staff, we'll break that up so we can answer people's questions. On August 12th, we're going to have a community meeting. We're going to have it at 10, 4, and 7. So regardless of when somebody works, that hopefully they can attend one of those times. Again, as I talked about earlier, the August 17th date is when the return to learn plans are due by the local ISDs, and we will have ours in at that time. Again, we're going to have an FAQ. So our communications team is designing a website that's just dedicated to the Wayne Westland Return to Learn plan. We're going to have all the latest COVID information, reopening our schools. We're also going to have a FAQ section that's going to be live, and each week we're going to pull those questions, answer them, and post them so we can in real time communicate with our community, staff, students. Again, everyone has a voice because everyone's involved in this decision. I can tell you this, at the foundation of whatever we decide will be the safety and well-being of our whole school community. That means our staff, our students, and our parents, and anybody that's associated with our school community. Every decision we make will be based upon that. Because again, this is uncharted waters that we're in, but we will navigate it together. So again, what I'll do now, if you have questions, please raise your hand, and then we will have dialogue. Aaron Eaton.
Hey there, how are you?
How about yourself?
Good, thank you. So here's a question that I have, and it's been asked. Let's just hypothetically speaking, we are in phase 4, we go hybrid, but there are families that choose online learning. How fluid will that be? Will they be allowed to jump in and out? Will it be by quarter if they sign up for online learning and then we end up back full face-to-face? Will they have that option to come back full face-to-face? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love your question, by the way.
Okay, thanks.
So one of the things that we've talked about is, do they come back at the end of the quarter? Do they come back at the end of the trimester, semester? We had a talk this morning about that. We were thinking semester just because of how Ingenuity is set up. But to have placeholders in our master schedule where we hold those kids, because I know some districts that are going either the virtual option or full traditional, you have to pick one or the other. And if you pick the virtual option, you're locked in there for the year. I just don't see legally how you can do that when there's a good chance that we're going to move in and out of phases. And if we're at phase 6 at some point, and my student, I'm a parent and wants to return because I think socialization is important, and they feel comfortable as a family. At some point in time, they should have the opportunity. The only thing I don't want to do is burden teachers of moving these kids in and out, not at a good time for them. I want to have the grades taken care of. We've already had the placeholder in the master schedule, so then the transition's a little easier. That's what we're thinking. Again, I'm hoping through some of our committee work that some of these questions are lifted and fought a little bit, and then whatever we decide, that's where we're going to be able to communicate to our community.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Tracy Cosgrove.
Hi, thank you. I had 2 things. One, if we do the hybrid, I presume the lunches for the students that don't get lunch on those days that we're home, I presume we would provide them with lunches and stuff. So if they're an A student and they're in school on Monday and Tuesday, they still get lunch Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then my second question is, I'm an elective teacher, and our classes are not, sorry, my cat. Our classes are not balanced in regards to people's last names because the kids in a middle school. So when you're doing like A through K, I've had classes where like I have a lot of M's. And so I was wondering if there was something about making sure that the elective classes are balanced with, half the kids coming in instead of, because like I said, I've had times where I've had tons of one letter of the alphabet on the last name.
W, it's a very valid question. This perfect example. I honestly think in curriculum instruction, we need to pull out a subcommittee that's specials, because what the specials or the spokes at the elementary look like might look different than both the middle school and high school. And again, I want to have voices of people that teach our elective classes or our specials or spokes that have a voice on what that, because they live it. You know, I've heard people saying, we'll zoom into a classroom to cut down on the transition times. Maybe for one building that works, another building that might not be a good fit. Because again, every school has its unique DNA, and the employees of that building are going to have and think about things that we just won't, just because we don't know any better. So again, I'm hoping that we break the specials out into subcommittee, and we have people like you on that committee to have these conversations. So when we come together, okay, here's what we're dealing with here, and then we can make some decisions there.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Samantha?
Hi. My question was almost pretty much the same thing. And then Cheryl mentioned in the chat also that core classes are not also always balanced. So I might have a lot of kids that are A through K, like 20 kids A through K, but then only 7 that are L through Z. So I didn't know if there was a way that they were going to separate class by class, like, I don't know how to word it, but so that every class has an equal amount of A through K and L through Z in each class.
They're actually, it's been amazing. And again, I want to come back and credit a lot of the legwork that's been done by a lot of educators here in Wayne Westland. Jill Simmons, Jen, they've been working, and their teams have been working around the clock. They've actually got all the numbers to start the balancing process to address some of these things. Because it makes no sense if one classroom has 27 and in the hybrid model, and then you have 7 over here. They're working hard to figure out what that balance looks like. I think we're going to get there just doing scheduling in the past. We're using the alphabet because it's easier kind of to balance the numbers than necessarily grade level, especially at the secondary level. So that's why we're kind of moving in that direction. But again, we're going to have dialogue on that to make sure, because that's important, that impacts social distancing within classrooms, you know, just fairness and equity across the board. So that will be something we will address. Diane? Can you hear me, Diane? I can't hear her. She's talking. I just can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. How are you? I could see you talking, but
just use my hand a lot.
Yeah, I like that.
So I have several questions, but I'm going to kind of table a couple of them because I'm sure other people want to ask me some things too. Okay, so
Sure.
You may hear back from me if we have time when we circle back and others didn't ask them. Okay. One area that I'm pretty concerned about is the social emotional learning of our students. I've been working with some people in Oakland County who are actually unpacking some of the recommendations from the state at the county level, at the Oakland ISD, kind of looking over some plans that different districts have and things like that. A lot of the conversation is around having teams at both the district level, so kind of like the crisis teams that I've seen in our district, as well as at the building level. So I'm just.
She went mute again. Diane, can you hear me? Just give me a hand signal if you can. Can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay. You broke up a little bit, but I kind of got the gist. I think that's a wonderful idea because, again, returning, and I came from Oakland County, and SEL was huge there. We actually set up a lot of telehealth, you know, for our families and whatnot at each of the levels, elementary, middle, and high school. and partnered with, you know, everyone from Precision Hospitals to CNS Healthcare to Easter Seal. So we provide a lot of support, but we have to remind our faculty and everyone, our kids are going to come back with a lot of trauma. Our staff is going to come back. I mean, this has had a huge impact on everybody, and some people a little bit more than others. So we have to be conscious of that. I think it's a wonderful idea. That's why we kind of pulled it out to have it as its own committee. And I think we could get subcommittees at the elementary, middle, and high school, like you were saying, like crisis response teams, to kind of address the needs, because we need to keep track of that. Again, not just the virus or disease itself, but also the impact that it's had on children, and especially the trauma piece to it. So again, that's something that I think is important to everybody. The other part of it too is kind of the puzzle that we're trying, is the childcare piece too, if we're in a virtual or hybrid model. So yes, great question. Thank you. Wendy Stewart.
Hi. I think Steph was in front of me, but hi, Steph. Can I go? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. About the hybrid, mine's quick. It's just, as a mother of children going to school, the alphabetical thing gives me a little bit of trouble, because I think it's important. The first priority should be siblings should be on the same A or B. And I don't know if
when they did they started pulling the students in the alphabet, that will be even like a hyphenated names, because it's not fair. You want to get kids and families on the same schedule.
Yeah.
It's legit. Yes. Yes.
I figured it had come up, but you didn't mention it. So I just want to make sure that.
Oh, no. Great question.
It's important for them.
Yeah,
okay.
No, absolutely. Because you don't want them on two separate. We talk about complicating and compounding problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
All right. Well, welcome.
Yeah,
I'll mute myself now.
Sorry about that, Stephanie.
No problem. I got two questions. Number one, if we go fully online again, let's say that's just where we go, can we as teachers come into our classrooms and use the technology and our stuff there rather than having to move our entire classroom home? Like, can we use that as an office space?
I laugh because we're vetting this out. We had this talk of a few hypotheticals, and we're kind of leaning yes, that teachers would come back into because they're essential workers. But again, there's a lot of layers to that too, that we're trying to work through. Because even though some people might feel comfortable doing that, other people would not feel comfortable. So, I mean, we're trying to weigh it as much as we can. Again, there's so many tentacles. You can pull things out and just look at one thing, and then you start answering things, and there's more and more there that you didn't even realize. And I think through some of the committee work that we're going to all be doing, you're going to see that it's gets complicated at times. But again, as much as we can, we want our teachers to get in a routine to kind of come back into the buildings and use the equipment there. I think it's a better delivery of education. But on the same token, you know, if you're in a phase where the disease could be prevalent, you know, I think people are going to have angst too. So we need to consider that.
Thank you. And my other question is, when the kids are in school, are we making it mask mandatory all day? Like, what is the expectation going to be? Is there going to be those people that are crying of exemption for whatever reason? How are we going to handle those?
Okay, great question. Again, all the questions have been great. We're going to, as we kind of move in that August 3rd board study session, we need to talk about policy, and that's the first that comes to mind. What happens, who's required, you know, people verbally can say because of a medical condition they can't wear them. There's so many different things to it, but again, we need to have kind of one way or the other, whatever's decided, to communicate that to our whole school community, so we're all on the same page. But those are items that I think have to be lifted in the board studies session, just because it's going to beg policy and impact, board policy possibly in some arenas. So, thank you. Janine Bauer?
Yes, I was wondering if we do have the hybrid model or the fully online model, will we have additional curriculum resources available online to use? Because I teach a resource room, so I have kids from kindergarten through 6th grade on levels. So I need more resources available online for my kiddos.
Yeah, no, great question. Again, we're going to have both options. Both the virtual option is out there right now for families if they decide that option. We will be following most likely whatever phase we're in, what model we follow. There's been a lot of purchases of instructional materials online, especially K through 8, to help support our teachers there. Because again, my sister's a resource room teacher, so I get it. The scope and spectrum of ability as well as grade level is different, so you have to draw from a lot of resources. Yes, we've made quite a few. Even it's my second week, and we've made some purchases for some online tools to kind of help our teachers.
Okay, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Aaron Eaton?
Oh, no, sorry. You already answered my question earlier.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yep. Kim Mandrell?
Hi. 2 questions. Well, one kind of Wendy kind of touched on, but talking about families going, on the same days, like we have so many families in this district where kids have different last names than each other.
Yep.
So hopefully just that will hopefully be, it's going to take a lot to kind of sort out, but the same thing, kids that have different last names as their siblings. So I'm assuming that will hopefully try to get worked out.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We're going to have to communicate that with our community to let people know that's how we're trying to balance the hybrid.
Right.
Because we aren't going to know what we don't know. Like, so we have to rely on the community and parents and stuff as much as we can to communicate that message so people know. Because again, it makes no sense. And curriculum instruction has done such a phenomenal job of really mirroring the schedule in the hybrid to the virtual model. So it's even more important to make sure that we have families that are together but might have different names, that they're on kind of the same schedules as much as we can.
Okay.
You said you had a second question?
Yeah, second question. So I'm also an elective teacher, and so us electives that are hands-on based classes is going to be very hard to teach virtually and or half. I've heard that some districts are just getting rid of their electives when that happens. So I was just kind of picking at your brain to find out what your thought was as far as the hands-on classes that aren't just like, languages and stuff, but other hands-on electives.
Yeah, we're gonna figure this out. I mean, I don't want people, they're gonna cut me this or that. That's not gonna happen. I'll guarantee you that. How we deploy the specials in elective classes, I think we have to get creative. I've heard of districts that, to cut down on the transition and stuff, they're having art classes push in and kind of through Zoom and stuff like that, even in the hybrid model. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I think we can do. Again, one building might be different of how they decide to deploy their specials. But I think it's important because when you start talking specials and electives, those are passion classes. Kids look forward to those classes. And I think we can put all our minds together. I really think we can come up with a concrete plan of how those are deployed. So again, like I said before, within curriculum instruction, I'm hoping one of the subcommittees is just focusing on specials. How does this look virtually? How does this look in a hybrid? Because again, you're the expert. You can speak a lot more than I can about what you do on a daily basis, how you deliver teaching and learning. So again, those are the voices that we need to lift up to help us in this decision making.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Tracy Cosgrove.
Again, thank you for taking my question and welcome. I have two questions. The first one is, we have the Champions program at Stevenson, which is new to our building this year, and it's a daycare, and it's not part of our education system. Are they going to be running at full steam with all of their kids there, plus our kids too? It's a daycare for, I think it's like 6 months to 5 years old.
And that we're going to vet out the child care because again, depending on what model we're talking about, and I'm going to concentrate right now in a hybrid. So you're probably going to want to have before and after care there. What does that look like in the buildings that exist? We're also looking at spaces off campus that can house a large number of family needs. But again, with that being said, we have to make it affordable for people. It can't be expensive. So I have a meeting next week with Champions about talking about larger spaces of where they could house, socially distance, and still deliver childcare for especially our families, let's be honest, K through 8th grade, that are probably going to be in high demand for childcare, that we can meet our families' needs. And then if we are virtual and families or essential workers or still need back to work, we have to know that they have the capability to help those families out during that time. Okay. And that really, like I said earlier, and I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, but if we move in and out of phases, we have to think about childcare. When do they pay? What do our transitions look like? So if, for instance, we were virtual and then it moves to phase 4, what does that transition? How much time do we have to give our staff to prepare? How much time do we have to give our families to prepare? Now it's different if we're at, phase 4 or 5 and the governor says we're phase 3, we have no choice, or we're in phase 3, we're in remote. But I'm talking about moving from one phase up a phase. What does that translation? And these are things that we need to talk about and really think about. So great question.
And then my second question is in regards to like ancillary staff. We have parapros that work with kids like one-on-one, and we have other people within the building. Like, what's going to happen with them? Because if we're in the hybrid, we may have somebody that's kid is only there Monday and Tuesday. What are we going to do with the parapro Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or, as an example?
Yeah. And that's something too that we have to define what the roles and responsibilities are going to be of all staff, because again, there's going to have to be conversation between the bargaining units with LOUs. And really, we're going to have to get creative of how do we deploy people, because now, like you said, they might not have kids a certain day. What does that look like? And again, if we were to move to phase 6, we would have all our kids there. So we have to take that into consideration as we're kind of defining roles.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Kathleen O'Connor.
Hi, good afternoon. Last year when we ended rather abruptly, one of the most frustrating and heartbreaking things were the kids who did not have access to a computer. It was very hard when we talked to them because they were completely out of the loop, and just their emotional learning really suffered for that. And it was particularly frustrating because I had a full cart of Chromebooks sitting in my classroom unused. I was wondering if there's a plan in place to deploy those to kids who really need them. And also maybe we could get Comcast to come in and talk about the low cost internet for them.
Yep. No, absolutely. The biggest thing, yes, we're working on a distribution plan now to activate every computer we have in the district and be able to assign it. Now, once we assign the devices, as you touched on, what is the ability of families to have Wi-Fi and broadband access to the content, which becomes a whole different thing. We do have, because of the bond in December, our schools are going to become hotspots. So for families that can access our schools, they would have access there. We're trying to work with some nonprofit organizations because we know certain areas within our community that don't have Wi-Fi, and we're trying to get them to help us purchase hotspots. I love the idea of Comcast, AT&T, and them to kind of really on the website we're constructing under technology, we're going to give links to Comcast and things like that to make families aware. I know when COVID-19 hit, a lot of them had 60-day free access to Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I don't know if they're looking to do the same thing when we launch school, but these are issues that we know are going to be there, and we have to make access to education equitable for every single one of our students. So yeah, we're working on that. Again, we don't want any computers, like you said, carts sitting in teachers' rooms when they can be in the hands of our children. So we do have a plan. It's supposed to be finalized next week of what that distribution looks like. And again, I credit a lot of the team to survey families that need devices and things like that. And they've been working hard the last couple weeks on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Dan?
Hi, thank you. I'm just curious what the district is thinking about with staff who either are themselves high risk or have high risk family at home. What other kinds of options there might be available, or just the other precautions that we could take?
That's just something I don't have a concrete answer for you right now. Mm-hmm. That's something that's going to have to conversation between really HR and the bargaining units. But before those conversations can take place, I think we need to submit the finer details of our plans. Mm-hmm. Then it'll open up the conversation for these talks. Like, what does this look like? Again, we do not want to put anyone in harm's way, especially with pre-existing health conditions. Whatever it may be, we want to make sure that, everyone feels safe and that their well-being is taken into account. But I think those conversations happen right after we finalize the plans, so people understand what first of all, what their options are, and then secondly, what does this look like for everybody within our organization.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. Stacy?
Hi, welcome to Wayne Westland.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I have two questions. Have there been any discussions about who's covering the online teaching? Because I know there's some other districts that are outsourcing that. Are we going to do it within our district, or are we going to outsource that online component?
Okay, now you're talking about the Wayne Westland online learning, formerly
Yes.
Great. Yes. We use a third-party vendor.
Okay.
Ingenuity. So it's kind of a canned curriculum that is used there. We do have a teacher that serves as a mentor that does wellness checks, make sure kids, almost like a teacher coach for that student. For every teacher equals 120 students. So if we had 240 kids online, we would have 2 teachers. If we had 360, we'd have 3 teachers. So our teachers serve in that capacity. Now down the line, might that change? Yes. if we're in the position and we weren't under such time constraints, we'd love to see our teachers driving the curriculum. Now, if we go online and we're in phase 1 through 3, our teachers will be delivering that instruction. And again, curriculum instruction assessment's done an incredible job of really marrying the hybrid schedule to the virtual one. So it should be almost seamless. And even if, because right now we're in phase 4, let's say we were in a hybrid to start the year, it gives us an opportunity to really work out any kinks. Like I said, we will be having ongoing surveys to probe the community on a lot of different levels to see what's working before, you know, if for some reason next year we all have to go offline out of our buildings and go back to online learning, I think we're more prepared. So.
Okay. And then in terms of safety equipment, have you started having the discussions about what is going to be provided to students and staff and who's going to be responsible for the cost of that safety equipment, like masks and cleaning supplies and things like that?
Yeah, the problem is every public organization and school district in the country needs PPE. They need Chromebooks. We're very fortunate here. One, our operations director is second to none. And the storage facility, we are able to stockpile resources, and he's been methodical of doing that. The problem becomes eventually at some point in time, you're going to run out. Everyone is geared towards the same PPE. Now, I know we have 20,000 disposable masks in the warehouse. We will provide PPE for our staff. We're going to probably most likely ask families, because the governor requires it under law for people to have a mask, that they wear the mask. We know kids are going to forget it. We will have enough PPE. We'll probably have 8 masks per teacher, so they can provide one. There's stations that have already been set up in different spots in our different buildings, almost like hand cleaning areas, and a lot of the stickers and stuff have already been placed. The ones that haven't will be before we start school.
Okay, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Stephanie?
Actually, my question was Kathleen's question about technology, so I'm good.
Okay. Melody?
Hi, welcome to Wayne Westland. I have 2 quick questions and they're kind of related. The first one is, I know you outlined the virtual learning for phases 1 through 3 and then blended hybrid for phase 4. Is there any discussion or possibility of the virtual learning happening even if we're still in phase 4? Like if we're kind of like at a cusp where we're kind of in phase 4, but it looks like we might be switching to phase 3 pretty soon. If there's any chance that we might be just deciding to go with virtual, even if we're not in that phase.
I think right now everything's on the table, to be honest with you. The only problem is really next week we have to have something finalized so we can take it in front of the board. So we're under an aggressive timeline. Now, I know other schools have made announcements that they're going to start the year online. I know Melvindale, Allen Park just made an announcement. Ann Arbor Schools has talked about it. So again, I know those are out there. There are other schools that are talking about going full traditional. So, I mean, I think right now people are all over the gamut. So that's something I think we would be able to gather through our perception data and stuff. And what's at the end of the day, what's in the best interest to keep our staff, our students, and our community safe and taking their well-being into account. Because at the end of the day, you don't get to do it over or anything like that. So you know, we want to err on the side of safety, if nothing else. So.
My second question that I had was before the school year ended, when we started having these conversations about what the fall could look like in different possible scenarios. One of the options that was brought up was, instead of doing 2 days on, 2 days off, to have hybrid, or I'm sorry, face-to-face and virtual as options, and let students and staff decide which option they wanted to do. I wasn't sure if that was just scrapped or if that's still a possibility for a hybrid option, even now. Just wasn't sure.
Good question. Again, I'm just started my second week, so I wasn't privy to some of the surveys that were out there. But again, this changes day to day, week to week. So in June, schools were scrambling, school districts were scrambling to figure out what their staff wanted to do. And a lot of times they wanted to try to catch staffs before they got out for the summer. When the state came down June 30th and gave us the 3 models, it gave us more to work from. Mathematically and statistically, I don't know what that looks like if you were to give 2 options. I mean, we would have to vet it and do some research on it. The problem you run into is some of the CDC guidelines, especially in phase 4. Let's say you had 20% that chose the online option, and I'm just using this as a hypothetical, so don't quote me on this. 80% decided they wanted full traditional. Can you meet the guidelines and the safety and well-being of that 80%? You know, I don't think so, but maybe you can. So, I mean, those are all things. That's why I think whatever committee people decide to join, we're going to take it through each of the 3 models. What does it look in virtual? What does it look like in a hybrid? What does it look like in full traditional? And again, I know with the 190 plus teachers we have, I know we can come up with some pretty good answers.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Diane?
All right, I'm unmuted, so I believe you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm just, okay. My 2 little ones, I have a 3rd grader and 6th grader. They're in Ann Arbor Public. So last night I was listening to the meeting when the superintendent announced that Ann Arbor would be fully virtual in the fall. And so some of the things that were mentioned were, you know, as maybe obstacles to opening face-to-face with face-to-face instruction, was that they felt like.
I think you muted yourself, Diane.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. How about, how's this? Good?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I apologize. So in the discussion last night with the Ann Arbor School Board, the superintendent talked a lot. They couldn't screen for symptoms and were concerned about exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I would love to elaborate on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does, and I think it creates a quandary for a lot of school districts.
Yeah.
Because how do you take temperature checks?
Yeah.
How do you monitor? And that's something too that we're going to have some deep conversations about.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are in some of the recommendations there's a family parent checklist that they follow at home. Some districts are talking about doing it randomly, because again, where does that take place? Does it take place before kids get on the bus, before they walk into the school? I mean, there's so many different facets to it, and who's going to do that? So, I mean, these are all things that we probably should have conversations about, because it's a very, very legitimate concern. And it's going to be a fear for a lot of people. So we need to talk about it. And again, I just want people to know, regardless of what plans we decide to follow, Labor Day weekend, it could be changed dramatically for us. So, I mean, I want everybody to know that moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're meeting with transportation. We're hoping in the hybrid model and the virtual online option that we will be able to social distance. Some of the issues that other districts probably will have if they go full traditional, how do you social distance and make sure that buses are safe? We think the numbers will be a lot safer, that we will be able to social distance a little bit more on the buses. But again, our fears are the same that our transportation director are having. And a lot of it is waiting on things like the Wayne County Health Department. They're supposed to push out a virtual binder that processes and stuff that we need to follow. So, I mean, I'm hoping that that serves as a guide for our work through this committee. Yeah. Last question, Tracy.
Yeah, I was just bringing up a little bit of a point when you were talking about the temperatures. I know there's concern with some staff have kind of brought up, if we have a kid who gets on the bus, comes to school, and then has a temperature, it's very difficult to get parents to come pick up their kids. So I just wanted to kind of bring that point of, you know, maybe it needs to be done before they get on the bus or something like that, you know, a temperature or something like that, because parents, you know, they get busy at work or whatever. And now we have a kid at school that is an issue. So I just wanted to bring that up.
No, great point. And again, these are all things that we need to have conversations about. But the problem you run into, if you were to take the student's temperature at the bus stop, what do you do? Send them home to empty house, or what does that look like? And I got another one for you. It's just like if you have a parent that tests positive and get the phone call at 9 a.m. in the morning, how does that look within the school? So like all these scenarios that we all have been thinking about, we need to have the conversations and again, look to medical professionals as well as our health departments of what should the process, once we know this, what should we do? But again, these are all things that we have to figure out in each of the plans. Well, the one plan we don't, but again, we should be doing wellness checks into the homes that are consistent, even if we're in a virtual model. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Guys, I just want to say thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules. Again, I'm so grateful that we've had so many teachers respond, and I think it's a reflection of the teaching staff that we have here in Wayne Westland Community Schools. Just from the questioning, I can sense how student-centered you are and compassionate, so I thank you for that. And I look forward to meeting everybody in the near future. Thank you.